Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to another video. Today we're going to go over a topic that I've wanted to do for a long time, and that is 2v2s as a restoration druid. We're going to cover tips and tricks, we're going to cover compositions and talent builds and PvP builds and how to play each individual comp. Now hopefully, as you can see, I have played a lot of games 2v2. I've got 2.1k quite early on in the season, and then for the rest of the time I've just been playing with viewers and just messing around really. Did some feral games, did some different compositions to just try them out, and I recently just helped my friend push to 2.1k again on his survival hunter. So I like to think I've got a lot of experience on restoration druid. Next season or later on in the season I want to be focusing on 3v3. But for the 2v2, I played over 600 games this season and feel like I know the class really well. So I think the first thing to discuss is to look at talent builds. Why do we have these talent builds and what they actually are? So first of all, if you've seen my previous restoration druid guides, you will know that I had a really tanky build, and this was because at the beginning of the season we didn't have as much healing, but now we've got treants. Things have really changed, and this has made druid a better class. It's got more healing per second. And they've also added Master of the Wild, so it's not PvP talent now, which is really nice. However, you do have to change it with Circle of Life, which is absolutely fine. I'll explain all of that later in the video. So the different builds go with different compositions, and I think this is really important that people know when playing Restoration Druid, because I see so many people playing Restoration Druid that make several mistakes. One is positioning, where they're standing is super important, and another one is the build they're playing or how they're using your rotation. If you've got your full dots on your DPS or the person they're playing with, the chances are they're not going to die, and this obviously includes Cenarian Ward, Adaptive Swarm, your regrowth. They are not going to die. It is an insane amount of healing. Now just to actually show you, this is in a non-PvP setting, so if we take a look at this and we reset all this data and we look at how much I can heal, so if we have a look at my stats, you can see that so when I'm in PvP, this goes up to like 23 and this goes up to like 20%, and this is maybe like 26, 27. These stats are what I would consider the best stats for a well-balanced druid. You can go heavy versatility if you're doing a convoke build. I believe Marcus has a fantastic guide for that, and he's much more fluid with how to use that approach. This guide is really on the overall kind of normal play style of a druid, very much about being passive but aggressive when you need to for various compositions. So anyway, like I was saying, you can see that this is my build. I will link my armory down below so you can see my druid, but going on to what I was talking about is why do we have these stats. So mastery, this is allowing you to increase your overall healing, so this is really good. So you want to stack as much as this as possible. And the haste, the main thing that this is going to be for is casting those clones. So if you hover over your clone and look at the clone time, you can see mine's 1.4 seconds, which is, I would say anything under 1.5 is okay generally. Your critical strike and speed, they're not really important, and obviously the versatility increases overall healing and damage done. Now if you are playing low verse like me, you are a really easy target, but the talents that I've chosen allow me to escape well, and I will now cover that section of the video. So first of all, let's go over my twos build, speed build, and why I've done what I do here. So you can see that most of my talents are down onto this left side. We've gone into rake, we've gone into rip, we've chosen to not go into main, but we've then chosen feline swiftness and tireless pursuit. I just want to say you absolutely can do that. Okay, depending on what you're playing with, or you can go that and that. That is not a problem. The reason I have this, I will explain in a moment, and depending on the composition. So this side very much features movement speed, and this is because when we move and switch in and out of forms, so you will see that we're able to just run super fast, which is just insane. And then your movement speed then continues to be fast, but also you can see that we're really quick. And just kiting around a pillar, you're impossible to catch. So as long as you've got hots on, you hot yourself up, you keep an eye on the enemy CDs, you're going to know if they're going to come for you. So I prefer to play like this when I am playing twos and I want to be a little bit more aggressive. Now the other builds that I have, so this is like a passive long range rake build, and you will see there are two differences here. So first of all, I go down this side of the tree. Now the reason I go down this side of the tree is A, because of the mana regeneration you get from Moonkin form and spamming Wrath, and because of astral influence. You can see that increases by 5 yard, which is an insane cast rate. This also allows us to cast our clone further, and also allows me to go into Boomkin form. Now what I tend to do with this is when my target has, my DPS has full hots on, I will spam 2, 3, 4 wraiths onto the target, and that's like 80k damage. Now it may not seem a lot, but that damage does add up, and it requires a healer to heal more, which consumes more mana. That's a win factor in 2 compositions with a druid. So continuing to speak on about the talents, this is very much passive build, but we do have rake, which, you know, whenever you've got your full hots on, going for the rake, you're going to struggle if it's a monk. A good monk will teleport away, but 9 times out of 10, if you're against some sort of melee cleave class, you will be able to rake the healer and line behind a pillar and get a clone. Now you can also, what you can do, if you don't really want to play that, you can put a point into there if you're worried about your tankiness, but generally you should be able to survive with this. You just have to be careful, and you just have to make sure that you kite quite well, and I will cover kiting in this video as well, but I have covered that in other parts of my video. If you're against a hunter, I just want to say this, guys, you can take hibernate. You can also hibernate druids. Feral druid, this is a really good one to take. It's a really quick cast. Just want to point that out. There. Many people don't actually know about that. So yeah, and then my final build for solo shuffle, just to show you, is very much similar to the passive one. You can see that we've gone down here because in solo shuffle, most of the time you're not the target. You just want to put out as much healing as you can. You want to get the CC. So, you know, you can see I've taken clone, and you can also see that I've gone into master shapeshifter. I would say 70% of the time you will kill the enemy team before you run out of mana, so you can easily switch this up to Circle of Life. That's not a problem. The main things you need to be doing is flipping around your Iron Bark, using your treants accordingly. So there are the new treants. Now I'll kind of talk about this. The talent is here. You absolutely have to take these. They increase your healing by 1 to 2 mil in arena. They make it so that if you're CC'd and you put one of these out, and there are some really cool tricks I'm about to show you with these guys that they're so fun to have. So let's say I summon a tree and I go in for the rake and I then get slowed. You can then fly back by using your charge on the tree. Another one is if a hunter comes up to you and tries to trap you, you can literally stand inside the tree, or you can summon the tree, and the tree, obviously in arena, I'm not sure what it's doing right now, but the tree will stand on top of you, and because of the layering and the way that it works, and it's gone over you, it will take the trap. It is such a good way to avoid CC now. I really like it, particularly against hunters, and you know, any kind of trap against a hunter. And obviously, you know, going into human form and charging to it is just a super quick way to go around, and people do not expect you. So you can go in, you can get the rate, and get your clone, and then you can fly back to where that's healing. And also, if you know you're going to get kidneyed, pop a couple of these up. If you know you're going to get stone bolted, or you're going to go into a fear, you can't avoid it, pop a couple of them up. They're going to save your team. Really big thing, just to mention that. I would not play without them at all. Super important. Now, I think we've kind of like gone over like most of the talents in like a previous video, and you can play around with these. I wouldn't take Nature's Vigil ever, really. It's just, I mean, yeah, I just don't know. I just think there's better things to take. You can, if you're worried about being killed, you can take Heart of the Wild over that. That can be quite nice, but then when you look at this, you know, when your health falls below 40%, you cast Frenzied Regeneration, and you have another Frenzied Regen. But this can be quite nice, because it does increase your stamina, but only while Heart of the Wild is active. And also, if you're running the Convoke build, I would recommend going Heart of the Wild. So next thing I'm going to talk about is kiting. So I think now what we're going to talk about is probably like the healing basics. Again, I know I've covered this in previous guide, but it's really good to remind you. See if you can follow along with a rotation for me. So Life Bloom is the most important thing to keep up. I always kind of keep one Life Bloom on myself in twos, because this increases the haste on your target. I'm just going to quickly create a raid group. That's fine, just so I get that. So I would have one Life Bloom on yourself, one Life Bloom on your DPS when they run out the gates. I would then be putting a Rejuve just to get the mastery on. I would then be doing your Adaptive Swarm, Cenarium Ward, and now we've got the mastery on, we can start building up the Life Blooms. You can tend to have, when they go into combat, I try and have 2 on them and 1 on you, and then you start stacking up mastery as they're running into the fight. You want to be going stealth out the gate, and you want to be looking for the opportunity to, what I like to do is so hots are on you, hots are on them. You only keep 1 Life Bloom on yourself, by the way. I like to rake the DPS. So what I would do, I'm not actually playing rake right now, so let me just switch. So I like to rake the DPS, and then so I would, if we just go invisible, so I would rake the DPS, and then I would come over and I would bash that. And so if I'm playing with a warrior, we've got those 2 or 3 seconds where they're not actually able to do anything. And from that you can clone the DPS, they can switch a healer, you can then switch a clone around. I've covered a video on all the specifics of how to clone. It's really important that you watch this, because this video really goes into depth about how to use your clone, how to use your mobility. Another thing to mention is obviously your CDs, how to use them. I've already talked about the treants earlier on in the video, but Iron Bark, you want to be lining Iron Bark up with things like Deathmark, True Shot Aura, Warrior's Avatar. There are all things like that, and you do want to be using your CDs first. Don't wait for the DPS to use their CDs, because the chances are they'll only look at their health. And you can carry as a restoration druid in twos. So yeah, main priorities with healing: keep your life bloom upon your targets, use big cooldowns for the DPS. I strongly urge you to download add-ons that track, so Omnibar, you can use Gladius EX, that's what I use, and learn to track the enemy cooldowns. Don't be scared of losing matches. This is like another really big thing, is, you know, your mentality. Lose matches, learn. If you win one and lose 100, you're still going to get better. The game is a grind. It's not meant to be easy. The people that are at the top are there because they've played thousands of hours. If somebody flamed you, ignore them, move on. Okay? Like the real world, the game is full of good and bad people. And you're going to get along with some, and you're not going to get along with others. Unfortunately, kids, that's just the way the world works, and we've got to accept this. So I think we've kind of covered healing priorities, or the basics of healing. What I would like to actually do now is go into kiting and kind of, you know, regrowths and how to actually, you know, kite people. Now, as a druid, when you're kiting, so particularly with a speed build, it's all about just shifting in and out of form. So shifting in and out of cat form with a speed one around the pillar, you know, like so, you get insane movement speed. You know, you're putting the dots on yourself, switching back into cat form, switching bear form, you know, if they're about to do a big go, and just keeping the hots on yourself. One thing that I will say is, before you go into bear form, have hots on you, because if you look at bark skin, what a lot of people do, and I see a lot of new druids do this, is they instantly go bear and bark skin. But why are you bark skinning yourself when you've got no healing on you? It's absolutely pointless. And some people do use regen. If you get 2 of the regrowths on your life bloom, then you bark skin, then you regen. They're not going to kill you. This will handle all DPS burst, and you will survive. And obviously, at the same time, you're going to be running away, you're going to be rooting, mass entangling. Another thing you can do if you play clone, you know, and a warrior charges you, if you use it on where the warrior starts to charge, or is just going to go back. Same for a monk if he flies towards you. Mage if he blinks. Monk if they teleport, you can use it on the spot and they will go straight back. You can also fly to your teammate using the charge trick that I told you. You could set up, one trick that I like to do is you could set up a treant at one place and you could run to the other, and then you could strafe back. Trust me, I've done it, it's insane. You can also, on the bridge level, you can put a treant there, you can jump off, you can turn around and charge back across. So you can kind of do something like this. If I just show you, is my wild charge up? Yeah, so I can.
I'm out of range.
So I can put this there, and then I can go like that. So you can do that off the bridge and then back on. It would be a really good way, and just use your mobility to your advantage. Kiting isn't hard, but people panic, they press the wrong buttons. Next thing I'm going to show you is if you've got life bloom on a target. Let's see, you've got life bloom on the target, so watch this. If I put regrowth on myself, they now get the regrowth hop, which is insane. So you can basically stand behind the pillar, you can heal yourself up, and they get another hot on them. I would always aim to keep a regrowth hot on your target if you can. Particularly keep an eye out on the clear casting procs at the top, and it's just really going to help you with just sustaining the healing. And obviously, you know, when Cenarium Ward procs as well. So people say, how do I know when it procs? It goes down to 6 seconds. As soon as it procs, refresh with Swift Mend. You want to be also using innate. What I do is I tend to use innate, and then I will summon all the Grove Guardians at the moment, just instead of using Iron Bark into a cooldown. And it's just a nice way to keep them alive. Sometimes, you know, I'll only summon 1 or 2, depends on the damage. And I mean, look, you can see the healing is it's not overpowered like people say they are. Druids aren't overpowered. If we still get CC'd, we're in a lot of trouble because the actions per minute are insane for a druid. Think about it. All the huts you've got to put on, other healers have big burst heals. And, you know, I was watching Holy Priests and, you know, they can press 2 buttons and the team is full. It's not like that for a druid. You're pressing like 14 buttons to get your team full again. So people that say OP, they just don't know what druids are about and they don't know how hard they are to master. Obviously, when you're playing this long range build, you've not got the same mobility as you would, so you've got the given advantage of you've got more time before the enemy gets to you because you've got big range. So this leads us nicely onto what are the different comps that we can play. So I'm going to kind of split this down into 3 categories on the screen. So the categories that we actually have are, we've got like passive compositions, and then we've got I would say aggressive compositions, and then we've got kind of a bit of a flexible playstyle. Now, the main ones that I'm going to discuss, just because I've played most of these, are the passive and kind of aggressive control compositions. Now, so what I mean by this is this is where you'll understand the builds now, and you'll start to see the link between the two. So let's say, for example, we're doing a passive, so we're playing with a warrior, we're playing with a DH, we're playing with a paladin. You're going to go the passive build. Now, the reason you're going to go the passive build is because you just want to let them do their thing. You want to let them do the damage, and this is also, I would argue, in Assassination Rogue. You want to let them do the damage, you want to let them get their CC out, and what you want to be doing is keeping up the heals, staying as far back as you can at the pillar, away from any sort of CC. And when you can go in for the bash, you can go in for the clone. I would always recommend going in stealth rather than charging in, because the chances are there's going to be a slight delay after your charge. And yeah, you just want to let them do damage, and you just win by pressure alone. And then when you see the DPS is like 50%, you could move in for a rake and get the clone, or they could stormbolt when they see you coming. It obviously depends on the synchronization and what you need to look out for, but the play style is slow and it's, you know, careful, and it's a really good entry point for going in as a restoration druid. And it's actually very much how in my first season I got 2.1k in season 4 of Shadowlands. It was purely, no, through season 3 was just because I sat the pillar, I cloned from really far, and I just let the warrior do damage. And as long as you keep the warrior up, you drink. So just to show you the macros I'm kind of using, so you want this drink macro, you want to be drinking delicious dragon spittle. This gives you the most mana. You also probably want a macro for life bloom on yourself, and you also want the cancel aura macro, which is this. So this basically shifts me in and out of cat form. I do think you can have just slash cancel aura. That's absolutely fine. And yeah, I mean, I don't really play with too many macros, to be completely honest. That's a nice one for Ursula's Vortex. But yeah, all these macros and everything are available in the Discord, so if you do obviously find this video useful, head over to the Discord. I always answer questions. I check it every single day, so please do find use for that. So yeah, that's kind of passive comp. So the next thing I'm going to go into is my absolute favorite, and this is control aggressive comp. So this is stuff like Hunter, an Arcane Mage. I wouldn't go as far as saying Warlocks are in this, but yeah, I'd say Hunter Mage. And what we're talking about here is we're talking about the big CC. So you could go main, you don't have to. But what you could do, say for example, because you've got insane speed, so your mobility is going to be quick, you're going to be you know, you're going to be dashing in and out, you're going to be stunning things, you're going to be raking in the opener, you're going to be cloning off traps. So you want that good movement speed. You don't want to be slow, and particularly now, traps are only 6 seconds, sheeps are only 6 seconds, and the way that you play this, and listen to this carefully. So what you're going to do when you open, you get the rake, they get the stun on the DPS. You would then clone the healer. Okay, so the healer's then cloned, and then you're doing damage, and then as the healer's coming out, you would then bash the DPS, or he would stun. You would then clone the DPS. The healer's in a trap, or you know, you could trap, clone, and then clone the DPS, and then go back on the healer, and then you know, you could kite around, get your hots back up, and then 10 seconds the DRs fall off. You do exactly the same thing, and you just keep repeating this. You just literally keep switching around. Or you could even go super aggressive. You could play maim. You could you want to be using, I believe it's swipe rather than shred. Yeah, you want to be using swipe because it costs less energy than shred to get your combo points. You could then maim, and then so you could main your DPS, target, clone, whatever, and then you could switch the clones around. So it's really strong, it's really powerful to do. You don't need to worry about the healing. If they're cloned, your DPS isn't going to be taking a lot of damage. You're going to pre-heal before you go in. This is really the key to the flexibility of playing with a druid. Now, obviously, to add to that, you can even convoke, which does massively increase your chance of killing. Druid's not about damage this season. There isn't. I think I've seen people use convoke and do half health, so it's not insane. You're not going to one-shot people, but it's going to be considerable when you need to secure the kills. And it's be very nice to play in with like a Destro lock, Affliction lock, you know, just to secure the kill potential. Now, this kind of brings me on nicely to, actually, I'll just say that the playstyle of a mage is very similar. You could sheep the healer, bash the off target, bash the DPS, then clone from the sheep while it's in bash. Your mage is pumping. The mage then switch the sheep onto the DPS, Farcast, okay, so it's a bit easier than a hunter, and you then clone. And you're just switching the damage around like that. The DRs fall off, you reset, you go. And the cooldowns you're going to get, if your DPS is good, you're going to get cooldowns. And then what you do, you go away, you heal up, and you just keep this pressure up. And it is honestly insanely strong. This is what makes Restoration Druid one of the best and most versatile healers in the game. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is flexible composition playstyles. Now this would be with locks, windwalkers. I would also consider in flexible playstyles. What else have we kind of maybe missed? Is there another class that we've? I don't think so. Oh yeah, Devastation. Yeah, that could be one. So here, with the flexible playstyles, I would probably opt for going maim, just so that you can bash, maim a target, and they can just pump into the DPS or the healer, and then the lock can get the fear out. He can then, you know, Destro lock can then pump. You can play convoke as well. So you're working more around your CC, and because maim, I mean, people say kidney is overpowered. Maim is 20 seconds, yeah, so maim is on a 20-second cooldown. That's insane. That is actually insane. That's a 5 seconds, so that's 2 chaos bolts from a Destro druid. That's, you know, big damage from a devastation evoker. So that's, you know, really insane, and these are how you need to play these comps. You shouldn't run out of mana either, because you're, you know, if you're playing Master Shapeshifter and you're playing Boomkin form, you can spam Wrath. So really, knowing these things in 2v2 would be the optimal way to play. Anyway guys, if this guide has been helpful, please do head over to my Twitch, drop me a follow, I'd really appreciate it. I stream most evenings from 8 PM UK time. Drop me a follow, subscribe, comment, ask me questions, join the Discord, and let's make Restoration Druid popular again. Anyway guys, thanks so much, take care, bye.